All right, sound is looking good, video signal is looking good, we're live. And let me adjust my glasses. Hello everyone, and welcome back on the stream. Today we're going to look into something that has been missing for a very long time. And there are so many things in the app that are still missing. It is unbelievable. But as I was looking into my my roadmap and into my product requirements document, I realized how far along we've gotten already. And to be honest, so there are two versions of the app, right? So there is the version of the app that we develop live, and then there is another version of the app that I work on while I'm not working on this live and while I'm not working on my day-to-day job. And that version of the app is always slightly ahead of the application that I show on the live stream, because, to be honest, I need to explore and see where this is going, try out things. So what you see on the stream is already something that I did before, and it's slightly rehearsed. But as you can always see, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the live stream that is surprising, and which is part of the story, right? So one of the reasons why I'm doing these live streams is to show that the person that you see on the Firebase YouTube videos, that is a person that's reading off of a teleprompter, right? And you can probably tell that by listening to how I talk while I don't have a script that I'm reading off. So I'm still looking through the teleprompter so I can look myself in the eye now, but there is no script. So yeah, so the live streams are there to demonstrate I'm just a normal person. I run into the same challenges and pitfalls as every one of us. So I'm not a superhero, I'm just a normal person. And it also gives me the opportunity to feel the pain of stuff not really working and having to think on my feet, if you will. And this is why what you see on the live stream is always slightly rehearsed, but also it lives in the moment. With that being said, I am actually curious if people are trying to follow along. So let me just put in a poll here. So it should be going live on the stream now. So yeah, I'm interested. Are you trying to follow along live? Is it important for you that I show everything, or is it would it be okay for me to skip ahead a couple of steps in the interest of making more way and pushing this app further along, right? So I guess the bottom line of this question is like, what are you trying to get out of this? Is this more like, are you looking for a tutorial experience, or are you looking for entertainment or inspiration, right? And I actually did consider creating a proper tutorial, right? So the downsides of a live stream is that the pacing is very different, right? So I need to do stuff in a specific tempo or pacing, and if you want to follow along live, that's going to be slightly more challenging because I don't know how far along you are. I can't wait for you because literally I can't see what you're doing. And even if you're typing on the live chat, that is still kind of like asynchronous. A couple of seconds still, but it's still hard to see where everybody is. And that is why I have been considering implementing an interactive tutorial similar to the ones that I built for SwiftUI components and for SwiftUI and Firebase. So these are built on Apple's DocC interactive tutorials, and you will notice that they look very, very similar to Apple's SwiftUI tutorials because they use the same engine for the tutorial as Apple does. And so, for example, this tutorial here shows how to use Firebase and SwiftUI together to build a to-do list application. And you can see it's got a couple of chapters here, and it starts out really, really at the beginning. So it starts out at literally having an empty folder and opening Xcode and choosing Xcode new project, and then walking you through creating, a simple model, creating the content view, and you can see the well-known hello world here. And it takes you from there to an application that is pretty complete, right? So it even has account linking and all those slightly more complicated topics in Firebase authentication. So, and let's see if we can, where's the video? Here we go. So you can see the video here, and you can see that there is even an account screen, user logs in and logs out and stuff like that. So this is a real tutorial. And the good thing about this kind of tutorial is that you can follow along in your own pace and take a step back. And also, what I really like about those tutorials, hello, where's my mouse, is that you've got the project files. And in the project files, there is always a starter and a finisher project. So the starter project is where where you can start at the beginning of each individual step in the tutorial, and the finisher is where you should end up. And so it's really great for following along. So that is what I've been toying around with, and thinking about doing this for this kind of application. So I'd really be interested in hearing what you think. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I need to look over here. Oh, we can't see your, oh God, no. Sorry. Okay, so let me show this again. I was looking at myself all the time. Okay, so let me start over. So I went here. So this is my website where you can see the tutorials. Thanks, Lars, for telling me. Oh my God. So sorry about that. So here is the SwiftUI tutorial, and you can see that it looks very similar to what Apple did for their own tutorials. You can see all the chapters, and it starts with this blank slate. You create a new project, you create your data model, you create your view, and so on and so forth. At the end of this part of the tutorial, you will have this very simple, basic to-do list view where you can tick off elements, and it even has details, dialogue. So, this part of the tutorial is more about SwiftUI than it is about Firestore. But once you get to the end of it, we talk about MVVM. So it is opinionated in this regard. And then the next steps are about connecting it to Firebase. It has an introduction to Firestore. And then I show how to connect to Firestore and store data in Firestore. And as you can see, everything is step by step. And you can copy the code, obviously, so you can copy this entire piece of code here and paste it if you are too lazy to type, or if the code is too complex to type. And at the very end of the tutorial, you have this pretty complete application. So let me find the video. Yeah, here's the video. So you can see that here is the account screen. You can log the user in and out. It automatically upgrades the user from an anonymous user to a signed in with Apple user. And I apologize for the fact that this video is so super small. It is actually, let me open this in a new tab. It's actually much larger. This is something that I've been telling the Doxy team over and over again. Why are all the screenshots and videos so small in the tutorial viewer, even though we record them and take the snapshots at very high resolution? It's a shortcoming of the tool, unfortunately. But you can, if you press Command+, then it gets larger. Okay, yeah, so this is an interactive tutorial, and you know, that's my thought. Maybe implement something like that for this app. But for now, let's come back. Oh, what is going on here? Let's come back to what we're planning for today. So something that has been missing in the Second Brain application since the beginning is a share sheet. And let me show what I mean by that. So I'm going to switch over to the preview of my phone. And okay, I can see my phone, so hopefully you can see it too. So let's assume that I'm in Chrome, and I come across this really interesting article, and I've been neglecting all the other content creators in the past. So I've always shown stuff by Antoine, and he's doing a great job, but Donnie is doing a great job as well. So why don't we look at his articles here? So let's see. So this is the homepage of his blog, and let's find an interesting article. So observing properties on an observable class outside of SwiftUI views. That sounds interesting, but I don't have time to read it now because I'm talking to you guys. So I'm going to tap on the share button and then select Sofia down here. And here is the dialog, and I can see that it's automatically extracted a bunch of details. So I don't have to type these myself, but I can add some notes here. Really cool article, must read, and then add. And then let me go back to the application. And you can see that here's the article, and it downloaded the entire article, and I can even read it offline. So, and if you remember how we used to do this in previous videos, what I did was I tapped here, I tapped on copy, I went back into the app, I tapped on the plus button, I tapped into the URL field, I tapped paste, and then it would go and fetch all those details. And then I would tap on add, and that would add the article to the database. So that's super inconvenient, so many more tabs. And I think the other way that I just showed you is so much more convenient. So that is what we're trying to implement today. And let's see how far we get. Implementing a share sheet is an interesting challenge for a number of reasons. So one of the reasons is this is technology that has been around for a very, very long time. So the first time that we were able to use a share sheet, or a share extension rather, must have been, I have no idea how many years ago that must have been. And you can tell how long ago it must have been that they introduced this technology by looking at the documentation, right? So if you look at this Apple documentation page, it looks very unfamiliar. It looks very different from the modern documentation with dark mode and larger fonts and very different styling. So so that is one of the challenges. And as you'll no doubt be able to see, well, no doubt. I have no idea how fast you can read, but let's look at some of the code samples here. So, what's that? Does anybody recognize what this is? Well, this is Objective-C code, right? So it's really old, right? So in the previous episode of my newsletter, I wrote about when Swift was introduced, and I made a mistake. I said Swift was introduced in 2024. That was obviously a typo. Swift was introduced in 2014. So that means this documentation probably predates that, right? And unfortunately, all of the code snippets here are still for Objective-C. So, I mean, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to translate it if, reading Objective-C code, you can figure out what it does, even if you've never written Objective-C before. But obviously things are different today. So, and that is one challenge. So this documentation isn't really helpful. And there are a bunch of people who wrote about implementing iOS share extensions in the past. This one here is probably one of the most up-to-date articles that are out there. And even this one is from 2023. But I think this will still be useful. And along the way, we're going to learn a couple of things that are interesting with respect to how to use Firebase inside of a share extension. So, all right, so looking at the poll, so far, most people seem to be not following along. So, but if you are following along or trying to follow along with the recording of the live stream, let me know. Cool, so let's go here and let me double check that we've got enough space, maybe like that. And I need to drag this window here. Okay. So to add a new share extension, what we first need to do is go into our project and then click this plus button here and then filter for share. And here we are. Here is the share extension. I can go in and then provide a name, Sofia share extension. And all of the other settings should be good. Yep, so this will be embedded in our application. And let's finish. And now it asks if we want to activate this scheme, which will make it easier for us to try and run this. So let's activate this. And you can see that it's now activated the scheme. And we can just try and run this on our simulator. So when we do that, we will see this dialog here, which asks us to provide the name of, or to select a process that this should be running in. And this is really important because a share sheet is part of your application, but it will run in the context of a different process. So let's imagine that you are in Safari or in Chrome or any other browser, and then you want to send something into share sheet. So what needs to happen is the operating system needs to instantiate your share extension and make it accessible to that process. So it needs to be made accessible to Safari. It needs to be made accessible to Chrome or whatever other process might be running. If you have a note-taking app that you want to share something out of, it needs to be running in that context. Or if you read a newspaper in a newspaper app, like The Guardian, for example, your extension needs to run within the context of that application. And here we can pick which application we want to run in. So obviously, because this is running on my simulator, it will only offer the apps that are installed on the simulator. If I did this on my physical phone, it will offer me all the other applications that are running on my phone as well. And then I would be able to try this out in the Guardian app, for example. So let's run this in Safari. And so the other reason why implementing share extensions is so challenging is it is a challenge for your patience. So first of all, we need to load the process, and let's go to, I mean, Lars, you understand German, but for the people who might not understand German, let's pick something that is, maybe the news are too depressing. Let's find something which is not so depressing. Let's go to Donnie's website. Donnie Walls. Okay, so let's find a nice article. Why you should keep your Git commits small and meaningful. Yes, I think that is good. So, and now my extension runs in, well, it is available to Safari. So I can click on this share button here, and I can see all the apps that are available now. And the one that is ours is this one here with the default icon. So I can click on that, and now you will see what it takes to be patient. So something is happening, but it still will take a while until the UI shows up. And that is a very, very simple, bare bones, plain vanilla UI that you're going to see in a moment. And it's actually part of the operating system as far as I can tell. So it tells you something about patience. So I think still looking good. We can try it on the physical device maybe later to see if it's just a problem of the simulator. Oh, there we go. You need to pay attention. Okay, so this part here is the default share controller that I'm going to show you in a moment. And you can see that it extracted the title of the post. It also extracted a preview image, and there are two buttons, cancel and post. And let me just click on post, and that's it. So let's look at the code. So we've got our share extension here, and there are three files that are part of the share extension. The first one is this storyboard file, and I don't know, when was the last time that you used storyboards? For me, it's been a long while. I am quite happy I don't have to use them anymore. And it doesn't, there is really not much here, so we can just close this. And then we have this info plist here, and that has a bunch of interesting details here. So let me see if I can zoom this in. So this doesn't work, obviously. Well, unfortunately, I can't zoom in. But what we see here is, firstly, the NS extension activation rule. So this tells the operating system when to activate this extension, and it provides true predicate here, and that means this extension can always be used. You can implement other predicates, and they can be used to say, well, I only want to show this extension if there is a URL, or if there is a text, or if there is a different type of thing that is selected, or that the application that is sharing something wants to share. So that is quite important. The other thing, here we have the NS extension main storyboard, and that points to the interface to the storyboard that is being used to host this share extension. And then NS extension point identifier that tells the operating system what kind of extension this is. And here we can see it is com.apple.share-services. So this tells the operating system this is a share extension. Okay, let's look at the code. So the code here is surprisingly simple, because all the magic happens inside this SL compose service view controller. So that view controller is responsible for all of the UI that we saw. It's responsible for showing those two buttons. It's responsible for for extracting and for showing the title. And it's responsible for extracting and showing this icon that you saw, this preview image. And then we've got a couple of callbacks here, and they have a couple of really interesting purposes. So first of all, apparently we can say, is this valid? And let's see if the documentation tells us more about this. So this is called automatically after each text change to help determine the enable state of the post button and to give the subclass a chance to update characters remaining. So I think, this share extension thing, that was probably introduced when Apple added support for Twitter to the operating system. And that is why characters remaining is quite interesting, because obviously in Twitter back then you only were able to post 140 characters. So that is one thing that you can apparently do. And the other thing that is much more interesting for us, because for us it's not really important how many characters are still remaining. For us, it's more important, what about the post button? So, for example, we could say you can only post if there is a text in the text field. So if the user decided to clear all of the text from this input field, we could say, well, post button is, we want to disable the post button, so we'll just return false for the valid state. And then we've got the did select post method, and this will be called whenever the user actually taps on the post button. And this will be where we will take the URL that the user wants to share, and we'll send it to Firestore. And then there is this configuration items thing, and that is so if you want to display additional configuration items, so let's see if there is, if we can find out how this looks like. What was the class name? Let's see if we see, this is the more modern version of the documentation, but unfortunately it doesn't have a screenshot. People, add screenshots to your documentation, right? It makes stuff so much easier. It's easier to visualize what this is about. Nope. Maybe images. Let's see. Oh yeah, so it seems like this might, yeah. So apparently this user has added 2 additional lines below this input area. So let's, yeah, so for example, for team and channel. So this seems to be the share sheet for Slack. So let's see what they did. Yeah, so here is a configuration item. They set a title and a value, and then they return that. Yeah, so that gives you the opportunity to, display additional information. Cool. So we've added the share sheet and we are presenting it. So what we need to do next is to get hold of the URL. And I thought it might be fun to not implement this ourselves. I know, I'm a lazy bone. But instead, ask Alex to do that. I don't know if you guys have used Alex before. So it is an AI helper that runs in the sidebar here. And the cool thing is it can analyze my source code, and I can ask questions and ask it to generate code. So let's go in and say, please extract the URL when the user taps on posts and print it to the console. Well, apparently this cuts off at the right end. Not sure why. Anyways, so this is not good. Let me change the window configuration. Yep, I think that's better. Okay. So this has now generated a bunch of code for me, and you can see that it understood my source code and it tries to extract the URL from this extension context. So the extension context is something you don't even see here. It's being mentioned in this comment here, but it's apparently a property of this SL Compose Service View controllers. So let's now apply this code to our file here. So I can see what it will change, which is a really nice overview, and it helps to understand, is this change, do I really want to apply this change? Let's accept it. And here we go. Okay, and okay, so here's a compile error, and the nice thing is that Alex even offers those little flyovers here, so I can tap that and tell it to fix this error. Okay, that was easy. We just needed to add an import, and because I can see that this change here is, really is small, I can directly apply this with the fast forward button. And here we go, compile error is gone. And now let's try to run this again. Run this in Safari. And where is our simulator, sorry. Here we go. Let's open the share sheet, tap on Sofia, and it will take a moment. Something is happening. While we're waiting, I'm curious, have any of you implemented share sheet before? Or is it something that you're looking to add to your apps? Yeah, let me know. Type it in the chat, in the live chat. We're still looking good. It's just taking time here. So we're waiting for the SL Compose Service View Controller to appear. Maybe I should run a stopwatch to see how long it takes, and then I know for next time. There we go. So, and let's open this console here. And now let me go back and tap on Post. And here we go. So, shared URL, and now we can see the URL. Okay, and also a bunch of whatever logging. But I don't think we're doing anything wrong here. Cool. So we get the URL, which is really nice. And also, I think you will appreciate that I didn't try to type in all of this code. I mean, it's, oh, give me a break, man. Okay, so the next step is we need to make sure that we can store this into Firebase, into Firestore. And to do that, we will first have to get a reference to our store. So let's go into our code, and here is the user store, here is the artifact store, and let's see. So we have got our artifact Firebase store. So let's take that and create an instance here. So I think, so this is UI kit, so we don't have on appear or anything like that, but we have override, well, we can view, we can use view did appear or view will appear. Let's use view will appear. So this will be called whenever the view appears, and the first thing that we want to do is call our super class. Super.view will appear, and we pass on the animated parameter, and now we can instantiate our artifact store. And let me put this here, var artifact Firebase, oh, that store is of type artifact Firebase store, and it's nil in the beginning, and we will assign it here, store equals artifact Firebase store. And now it says, I can't find it. And the reason for that is this is a separate binary, essentially, or a separate target. Okay, cool. So yeah, interesting, Lars. So what kind of app do you want to add a share extension to? Or what you're working on? I'm curious. So coming back to the targets thing here, we've got this main target, and here is our extension target. And that is why inside this target, we can't see the files that are inside this main target. So what do we do? The easy way is to just say those files that we need belong to multiple targets. I'll show you how, and then I'll tell you my opinion about it. So first of all, we need the artifact store. And let me open the side panel here. And then you can see the target membership. And the current target membership is just for the main target, Sofia. And when we open this, we can see all the other targets, and we can turn on Sofia share extension. So now this file is part of this other target as well. So while it will work, as you will see in a couple of minutes. So that is one way to do it, and I'm picking this now because we always have just like 1 hour-ish in the live stream, and doing it the proper way would take a little bit more time. But my preference is to put everything that you want to reuse across multiple targets into packages, and then you can make sure that everything is really nicely self-contained, and then you can use those packages wherever you need them, and make sure that everything that belongs together is in one package, right? So for example, we could have one package that contains the data model, and we could have another package that contains our Firebase store and other related stuff, right? And that would make it a lot easier to reason about the files. It would be a lot easier to find stuff. It would be a lot easier to encapsulate stuff and to reuse it across multiple targets. But refactoring the application into packages takes a little time, and that is probably something that I'll do in the next episode or the one after. But not now, not today. Today we're going to use target memberships. So let's go back and see if this is good enough. So it's compiling. And yeah, so this is now missing a couple of modules here because we use Firebase, we use Firestore. So first step is to make sure that this extension also has access to Firestore. So I'll go into my target editor here, and I'll go down to the frameworks and libraries section, click on plus, and then search for Firestore, and I'll add Firestore. Let's compile this again, see if this is good enough. And now it tells us that it can't find the artifact type. This is here, so we'll just add this to this other target as well. Compile. And what we also need to do is we also need to initialize Firebase. Okay, so here it says it can't find the user emulator thing, and that actually is an extension that I wrote to make it easier to figure out if the user is passing in a launch parameter to tell the application we want to use the local emulator. So we apparently also need to make that file accessible to the extension. So I think this should compile now. Yeah, it does compile, but what we're missing is we need to initialize Firebase. So if we look into our application here, one of the first steps that we do is to run firebase app.configure, and this is really important, and we need to do this before we actually instantiate the this store. and it can't find it. So we'll first of all import Firebase. And this might already be enough. Okay, so this is enough. I'll run the application, and while we're waiting for the extension to start up, I want you to think about what might be missing in order to make this work. If you have an idea, post it into the chat. And while I give you some time to do that, I'll just try to launch the extension and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're waiting for it to show up. And while we're waiting, let's bring up the console. Okay, so nothing's happening here, and by now it should probably have shown the dialog. But we saw a warning here, and the warning, oh, there is even an error message. Okay. Oh wow, and we're crashing. So, so first of all, it said, didn't receive handshake message from the host after waiting for about 2 seconds. I think it was longer than 2 seconds, to be honest. This may be a spurious launch of the plugin due to a message to an XPC endpoint other than the main service endpoint, or the CPU is highly contented and this extension or its host is not getting enough CPU time. So it's a fancy way of saying, well, you didn't start up fast enough. Okay, so let's see what actually happened. And here is a warning from Firebase saying, could not locate configuration file Google service info.plist file, and that contains the configuration for our project, for the Firebase project. And then we even crash because that is what Firebase does when it, well, does it do that? Well, apparently in this context it crashes. Okay, which is a good thing, I guess, because it's an obvious programming error. So how can we make this plist file part of, or how can we make it accessible to Firebase when Firebase is starting up in the extension? By adding it to this target. Again, just select the target membership here. And now when we run this, it should work. Building, starting, and any minute we should see Safari. Okay, let's call it up. So if things go well, we will see the dialog. But because we haven't yet implemented anything to add the URL to the database, clicking on posts will probably not have any impact. Well, probably, it will definitely not have an impact. Okay, so yeah, this is starting very slowly. I wish it was faster. I have no idea why it's so slow. Okay, here we go. So here is the dialog. Everything went well, and Firebase also started up properly, which we can see by the absence of any error messages, and also because this line here is from my extension that says, should we use the emulator, yes or no. So that is also one signal that tells me this is working fine. Good. So next step, we want to add the article to the database. And because this piece of code here is already pretty hard to read, I'm going to add a function here, func add to Firestore. And inside, I'm going to say store.add, and we need to create an artifact. And let's do that here. That artifact equals artifact. And what do we need? We need a title and a URL. So let's take both of these from here. I can just, title is a string and URL is also a string. And then artifact. Good. And then what we can do is adding URL, add to Firestore, and let's use the URL. So for now, with love from the share sheet, share extension. For now, we don't have a title. So what's going on here? Oh, share URL. And we'll look into how to get the title. Oh yeah, dot absolute string. Okay, it's a little bit hard to read the code. And we need to call this using self. Okay, and let's give this another try. Cool, so let's open our extension. And let me bring up the Firebase console. So when this shows up and when we click on the post button, it should add a new document to our Firestore database. And we should be able to see it in the console. We're still waiting for the extension to show up in the host. Here we go. So let me click on posts, and there you go. So did you see the green blink up? So this is the new article that we added with love from the share extension. And let's quickly jump over to, to the inbox. Here we go. So apparently we need a little bit more information here because you can see that all the other documents have a lot more detail, and that is because when we use the regular add a URL to Sofia button, we will fetch all the other details from the URL. So this is something that we still need to do, but the good news is we were able to access Firestore from within an extension and store something that the user shared from a completely different application to our app. And that is pretty nice, if I dare say so myself. Because there is a lot going on under the hood to make that happen, right? So we have a piece of code that is part of our application, which runs inside the context of another application, and that takes a piece of data, brings it back into our application, talks to the internet, adds something to the database here, and our application is picking this up because we have this snapshot listener which implements this real-time synchronization. That is, if you had shown me this kind of stuff when I started implementing iOS apps, that would have been mind-blowing, really. It is pretty cool. I mean, it seems normal to us today, but it is pretty magical. Cool. So let's see if we can fetch more details. So I think what we need is the metadata service. So we'll just, let's see. Well, this is a singleton, so we should be able to instantiate that here. Var metadata service equals metadata service dot shared. Is it a property? I think so. Yes, it is. But we also need to make this available in our target. Okay. And then what we need to do, we need to call ingests. Hello, can you please compile? Well, oh, is it not public? Well, it is. Okay, compiler was probably phoning home. So what we want to do is, yeah, we can do this here. So metadata service dot ingest from URL. Let metadata equals metadata service dot ingest, and this is async. So let's see. And it can throw. Cool. So if we get the metadata, and then if I call hierarchy, I think by now you realize that I'm a lazy person. Ooh, yeah, artifact, well, in that case, let's make it a var. And let's try this. Oh, what? Okay, yep. So, again, we're missing something, and that is Open Graph. So let's add this here. Open Graph Reader. And again, this would be something that, if we had organized the application into packages, it would be so much easier to deal with this, because in that case, we would just import the package and get all the dependencies as well. Okay, apparently for some reason it also needs read. Yeah, I think next time we're going to reorganize this into packages. Well, it succeeded. Let's run. Run this in Safari. And let's find a different article. Is the year 2025 the year to fully adopt Swift 6? Well, you tell me. I mean, if I could speed up all of this by implementing Swift 6, I would do it. It would be worth it, I think. Unfortunately, I think this is completely unrelated to whether or not my application is fully Swift 6 compliant. So it might be an interesting experiment to run this on a really, really, really modern machine. Like this is not unmodern, it's an M1 machine, but I'm curious how this would perform on an M4 machine. So here we go. Let's bring up our Firestore console and post this, and here we go. Yep, this worked nicely. So we've got all the additional metadata that we need, and now we can go back into our application. Back into our application. Oh. Okay, yeah, it was just, I need to use the correct title. So let's fix that. Metadata.title. Which one should we use? Yeah, I think that's the right one. And if there's nothing, then no title. Okay. Let's do this one more time, and then I think we can wrap up, because we've achieved pretty much what I wanted to achieve today. So yeah, let's take yet another one. How to plan a migration to Swift 6. Share this to Sofia. Bring up our console. So another thing that we should probably also do is, instead of using this plain and simple share sheet that Apple provides in the data in the operating system, to use a custom SwiftUI view. We already have one that we use from inside the application, so we should probably use that. And that will require refactoring this extension a bit. Okay, so here we go. This is really weird. And here we go. So it updated the title. That's really nice. And now let's see what Gemini thinks about this. This blog post provides a comprehensive guide for migrating to Swift 6, focusing on the challenges and best practices related to adopting strict concurrency. The author emphasizes gradual modular approach over a rushed full-scale migration. Yep, nice. Cool. So, yeah, I'm happy. So this is really good. I think it makes working with the application a lot easier, but obviously there's still room for improvement. So instead of using that pretty bare bones controller, I think instead I want to use this one here, but that is not something that we can implement, or it will take more time to do that. So next time. And refactoring into packages. And with that, thanks for joining. How's the poll doing? So most people, oh, okay. Some people are following along. That is interesting. So let me finish the post, the poll, close poll, and what is the result? Yeah. Hey Donald. Yeah, you joined right at the end, but well, thanks for being here. Let me say that, and do join next time. So next time, I'll show how to implement a nicer SwiftUI and use that within a share extension, and that is going to be quite interesting, I promise. So the result of the poll is, let me pull it up here. I thought I ended it. There we go. So 57% are not following along and 42% are following along. What about the remaining 1%? So yeah, thanks for letting me know. That is helpful. I think we'll still try to make it possible for people to follow along, and I will definitely consider implementing a full-blown tutorial. But obviously that will take slightly more time. That being said, thanks everybody for joining. It was great fun as always, and thanks for being regulars. I really appreciate it. I always look forward to this time in the week, and it gives me good reason to continue building this application. And it's I'm pretty sure it'll be ready to be submitted to the App Store in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be interesting. And with that, thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week, same day, same time, and we'll continue where we left off. Thanks. Bye, everyone.